Welcome to the Cyclical Doula podcast. I'm Emma, a certified Sympto-Pro instructor, a fertility awareness educator, and your guide to fertility coaching and reproductive health education from menarche to menopause and all the different types of motherhood in between. If you're seeking a natural, science-backed approach to managing your fertility, understanding your cycle, or simply connecting with your body in a new way, you're in the right place. Each episode is designed to empower you with the tools, knowledge, and confidence you need to thrive in your unique journey. Quick disclaimer, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice or individualized charting support. For specific guidance, please consult with your healthcare provider or fertility awareness instructor. Now, let's dive into today's topic.
Welcome to the space where cycles breathe, where the real raw life of a mama leads, from motherhood's highs to charting the low. Your body's story is the star of the show. Matriarch heart.
Welcome back to the Cyclical Doula podcast. I am so excited today to be joined by Gigi Hunt, who is a cycle alignment mentor and neurosomatic practitioner helping high-achieving women turn their burnout, mood swings, and luteal rage into body-led flow. After years of postpartum depletion, 50 plus pounds of weight gain, and feeling like a stranger in her own body, Gigi discovered the truth. Her hormones weren't the problem, her nervous system was. And through her signature program, the Bloom Method, she helps women regulate their hormones, reconnect with their cyclical energy, and create lives that actually feel sustainable. She blends science and energetics, nervous system education, hormone wisdom, and deep embodiment so that women can finally feel emotionally steady, magnetic, and alive all month long. I'm so excited to have you here. What else do you want to tell people about who you are, maybe even just outside of your work too?
Oh, well, thank you so much for that great intro. So outside of my work, I am all of me, right? Multidimensional. I'm a wife. I'm homeschooling. I have two little ones that I homeschool. They're wild. They're exciting and energetic. I am Dominican, so I speak Spanish. It's my first language. I love plants. I love meditation. I love journaling. I laugh a lot, and I'm very loud. So
That's awesome.
I'm also someone who's on this, journey, this deep healing journey, figuring out stuff as I go along. A lot of childhood trauma, figuring out how
Yep.
to fully be in my body without running, without masking or finding all the copings,
Yeah,
and just have
for sure.
just have a little fun while I'm at it too. So yeah, that's me in a pretty, in a nutshell.
That's awesome. I love that. If you don't mind, tell me a little bit more about homeschooling your littles. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we're homeschooling them too.
Yes, that's what's up. So I have a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old, and from the moment that I knew that I wanted to have children, I knew that I wanted to homeschool. One of the
Yeah.
reasons in my later life, you have a lot of reasons for things that
Oh,
you do.
for sure.
One of the reasons that I decided that I was going to really pursue my dream of being an RN was because I love the flexibility that it provided, that I could do
Yes.
so many things in under one umbrella.
Yeah.
So I decided that we were going to homeschool. I kind of decided, and then my husband at first, he was a little like, I don't know, but we ended up doing it from the get-go. It was always learning from
Yeah. Of
that was the
course. Yeah.
plan from the
Yep.
get-go. Like, there was
Right.
there was never like an officially we're starting homeschooling. It was
Right. It's just we're learning anyways. Yeah, absolutely.
every day. So we ended up RVing full time, used that as a way of road schooling. We
Yeah.
homestayed, we road school, and it's been pretty fun. We are very laid back. I do a mixture of unschooling and homeschooling, and they're doing great. They're thriving. We do have like assessments and stuff that we do through the state every
Yeah.
year, but they've been doing great, and it just allows for a lot of freedom. Our family, one
Yeah.
of our values is freedom. So home
Yeah.
educating them was just what it what it is. And
For
now
sure.
my husband's actually like, "There's no way we can do this."
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
amazing how, like, you can make those switches. It sounded like this was kind of always your expectation, but as you mentioned, like, your husband, I feel like it's so interesting because my we're kind of in the same boat. My husband used to be a public school teacher, and, like, we, I have, like, a lot of education background too, and both of us are like, "Yeah, no, definitely not."
I feel like teachers are the ones that are, like, the most not wanting to send their children,
Yeah, for sure.
especially
You
public
know too much.
school. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that. I connect in so many ways. I think that the thing that comes up when we're talking about all these things is it sounds like you're a person who has a lot of like rhythms and rituals in your daily routine. Is there one that's your favorite?
Yes, I do. I am a very firm believer that us human beings thrive on routine.
Yeah.
We thrive one it's one of our basic human needs, right? Being able
Mhm.
to predict.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
love following the rhythm of my cycle. That's one of the things that I swear by. I track my
Yeah.
cycle and not in a boring kind of calendar way or through the flow app or whatever app, right? But like really tuning into my energy, into my moods, into the signals that my body is giving me on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I actually make it super simple. I have this journal and it's like a 5-year journal and it has a few lines on it because you're not supposed
Yeah.
to write like a storybook. And
Yep.
and this makes it very, very easy for me to stay consistent every day, cycle day, mood, energy, any physical symptoms, any takeaway type of thing. That way you
Yeah.
could always look back very quickly, very easily. And it's so easy that like there's, like, no excuse not to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so tracking my cycle, I love taking time for my energetic practices, journaling, plant medicine rituals, I love those as
Yeah.
well. Holy Trinity for me.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Great. And what the other question that I like to ask people to like get to know you a little bit better is what's been filling up your cup recently?
Mm, that is such a good question. So, for me, especially lately, it has to be deep sisterhood. Like, having these conversations,
Yes.
being in circles with other women who hold space without judging you, without
Mm.
making you feel like your wishes and dreams are too big. You know, they have the
Yeah.
same big, even if it's different, but they have big dreams and they see you, they fully see you.
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of more in-person events lately, and I
Awesome.
realized that this is something that is deeply nourishing for my soul. So that has been filling up
Yeah.
my cup. And of course, you know, spending quality time with my husband, with my kids, and
Yeah.
just doing what feels right, especially, like, in the moment before anything else. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so good. Yeah. A connection is I feel like it's such a big thing that is can fill people up so quickly and easily.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about like what how you got into this work, and like what more about your story of getting to this place to being where you are today.
Yeah, so ooh, thank you for letting me share. This is something that runs so deep for me. I'm in the middle of doing a 2-day masterclass right now, and I spoke about this yesterday. And after the masterclass, I remember like sitting there and just thinking about it and realizing how far I've come in my journey
Yeah.
and realizing how there are people right now who are at the beginning of where I was and like how
Mm.
amazing that they too could get the opportunity, right? So when I had my son, I was about 2 he was about 2 years old. I found myself super, super disconnected from my body. I was over 50 pounds since the day I had him, overweight.
Yep.
And of course, you know, weight is a symptom. I was exhausted. I was
Yeah.
emotionally spiraling. Luteal rage was all the rage for me, and I realized that no one was going to come and save me. I'd been to the doctor, and they gave me like generic advice or told me I needed to just go on birth control or something because my periods
Right.
were all over the place. So I had to figure it out by myself, right? And that's really what led me here because I was working as a registered nurse in the field. I was mentoring and coaching people with diabetes, high blood pressure, all of these issues. And I worked for a big pharmaceutical company and they wanted me to push pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, yeah, but there are other ways to manage your health instead of making
Right.
people go take their pills, etc. So through that and my own journey, I decided that I wanted to share with the world in the way that was fulfilling for me and my
Yeah.
values. And that's where like my coaching business birthed from. Before that, I had an online apothecary that I created very shortly after my first daughter was born. She had eczema. I dove deep into like the herbs and the nutrition and all of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we started RVing, like I said, and then I wanted to help in a different way. So I started online coaching and
Hmm.
through that journey, so when I first started in the coaching world, I was an intermittent fasting health coach. I love
Okay.
intermittent fasting. I feel like when it's done correctly, it is super beneficial for all people. And that's how it started. But then I wanted to dig deeper because I'm a deep person. I'm like, there's
Yeah.
more to this, there's more, right? There's more. And through my own evolution and through my own healing, like what my brand is now has been birthed. And I'm really blessed that I get to do this on a regular basis and I get to impact other people's lives because that feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so cool. Well, thanks for sharing that so much. I feel like we could probably talk for hours about all these different things. I have so many questions and I feel so connected. So you talked about that it wasn't, maybe it was in your like bio too, but you talked about that it wasn't your hormones that were like causing all of these things, but more so of this nervous system trying to get your attention. And like you said, like weight was just one of the like signs or the symptoms of what was going on. So how did you like come to terms with that? Like figuring that out specifically.
Yeah. So it's so interesting because when you start on a journey like that, for me, my journey started as a weight loss journey, right? Like I wanted to lose weight. You start uncovering different layers and
Right.
you start realizing like, oh my gosh, especially for me, I started realizing with my cycles that especially my luteal phase, it wasn't a problem. My body wasn't a problem. There was no
Yeah.
problem. It was just communication that my body was trying to have with me and I wasn't listening. And what I've learned through all of my experience and all that I went through was that at the core of it all is your nervous system. That is
Yeah.
first line of defense. It's like the knight outside of your castle before the moat. It's like the moat, right? Like I always
Yeah.
say it like that. Um, and how your body responds to stress. Everything after that is like it's all everything after that depends on what your nervous system is like. So I
Right.
learned that in order for me to feel safe in my body, I had to work on healing my nervous system and my stress response. And
Yeah.
then I started noticing like, oh my gosh, I could be consistent. Oh my gosh, I could be steady. Oh, I could feel good, you know? I went from being someone that used to be on a bunch of pharmaceutical meds, insomnia, all kinds of stuff. I have an
Yeah.
autoimmune disease that I also was having flare-ups, and
Hmm.
I went from all of that to being able to heal, and it was really first line through healing my relationship with myself and feeling safe in
Yeah.
my body. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so that's like the core of what you do with
Mhm.
other people too, is walk them through
Mhm.
that now. That's so
Yeah.
cool. So what does that look like when you're is it very specific to each individual, or do you kind of have like a general process that you help people walk through?
Yeah, so I have all kinds of different, like, ways in which we could work together, but at the core of it all, especially if you come into, like, my one-to-one container, which is the
Yeah.
Bloom method, it's a very, specific, unique framework that I go to, and part of that framework is getting back to safety in your body, and we start with awareness. The B in Bloom is like begin with awareness, begin with learning your your body's reactions, because a lot of
Hmm.
us, we're moving through life and we're not even aware of ourselves. We have very
Yeah.
poor self-awareness in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
Because we're forced to be focusing on everything on TikTok, on Instagram, on what's this person doing, what's that person doing. We lose
Yeah.
sight of ourselves, so we're
Hmm.
not very aware of what's going on in our body. So it's always starting with that awareness of self, and then listening to those rhythms, listening to those signs that your body is giving you through these signals and this awareness that you're cultivating.
Yeah.
And then I always like to do energy work, because it's not just your body, not just figures and data, but it's also the relationship with the mind and the energetic, the frequency. So we blend all of that inside of our containers. Like if I have a one-to-one client, we have biweekly calls, we have sessions. I am certified in a host of modalities, from emotional freedom techniques to subconscious reprogramming to meditative hypnosis and working with the psyche and the shadows and all of that to help you to uncover these blocks. There's always a block, right? There's always
Yeah.
something, a story that we tell ourselves.
For sure.
And once we get to that, the root causes, then we're able to heal, we're able to rewire, we're able to transform and then make it last. Make
Yeah.
sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So my brain is like so wrapped up in cycles in general. Like that's just how my work is and like what I focus on. But I'm so intrigued to know if you feel like now that you've done this work and what you see with people that you're working with as well, is there still like you mentioned the rhythm, like your cyclical rhythm in there, but what do you see as like in those different parts of a cycle that's coming up for women on a regular basis, and how can we kind of like adapt well in those times? And that was a huge question, but
Yeah, yeah. So to keep it like as simple as I can,
yeah,
I'll reference this masterclass I'm currently hosting. It's called
okay,
Luteal Liberation. And this masterclass dives into your luteal phase, a phase that is so misunderstood. And it's
yeah,
because of societal programming, because it's a truth teller phase, right? You know, each of the phases of our cycle, I talk about this often. Each of them have a different character, a different archetype, a different, it's like the seasons of the year, you know,
yeah,
a very different energy that they bring to your life, a very
right,
different purpose that they serve. So in the luteal phase, it serves the purpose of bringing up the truth so we can see where we're allowing things that don't serve us. Right? If we're
mm,
overstressed and if we're not taking care of our bodies through nutrition, or we have no boundaries, it's going to show up in our body through PMS, through irritability, through bloating, inflammation, all the things,
yeah,
right? Unfocused, can't sleep, do this, do that. So I could talk about this forever because it's so interesting. And the more you learn about it, the more you're like, why was I not taught this?
yeah, right, yeah. Right. First of all, like, why aren't you taught that there's like actually these different parts of your cycle? And then, like, so much of what you're doing, why aren't we taught how to like regulate our bodies and be like centered in our bodies in a way that's so important
Mhm.
in all of those different parts of our life in all different situations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I feel like it's important to understand that there are four different phases that have four different personalities that serve four different purposes. That's why God gave us these different phases. We mirror the earth. The earth as well goes through its cyclical rhythm and its phases, and
Yeah.
all of them serve a purpose.
Right. Right. They all have a lot
Yeah.
of important pieces to it for
Yeah.
sure. So tell me more about this phrase luteal rage and like what came up for you in that and what are you working it sounds like you're working on a master class right now, like kind of diving into that specifically, but I haven't heard it called that specifically before, but
Absolutely right.
I feel like yeah, I feel like what a good way to describe what many women experience.
Yeah, that's how I describe what I was going through, right? And even
Yeah.
clients that I've had, where you just feel this anger inside of you and this irritability, and you don't want to feel like that. You don't want to
Yeah.
snap at these kids or your husband or be annoyed, but you literally can't help it. And you start to feel like something's wrong with you and you're crazy. And oh my God, why can't I get a handle of this? Why do I feel this way? And that's why I call it rage because it's freaking ragey.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So do you feel like for most people who start doing all of this nervous system work, like that just can go away because they're so grounded in the systems that they've built with it all?
Yeah. So what I think happens is that you just become so aware.
Mhm.
And when I talk about nervous system regulation, I'm not talking about being like happy go lucky, I'm never mad
Right.
anymore, I'm like rainbows and butterfly, but it's more of so of being able to come back to center, come back to your baseline, right? Because what happens is during our luteal phase, when we are more sensitive to everything because our hormones have dropped and we are shifting into a different gear,
Right.
what could happen is that we're easily triggered and it could easily get very big. You know, the same things that bother you in your luteal phase doesn't necessarily bother you like in your ovulatory phase. You're good with it,
Right.
right? So I think that um, when we start healing, and that's what I want to say, we're not just regulating and doing some breath work and coming back. Like it's
Right.
part of a rewiring your
Mhm.
relationship to self and now how you're responding to the chaos, etc. And sometimes that means setting boundaries beforehand so that it doesn't get this way. It means feeding your body correctly so that your body's not inflamed and then you're having secondary reactions from things, you know? So it's not that you aren't ever going to feel emotion, but so
Right.
much more that now you're going to be able to support your body appropriately so that these emotions don't control you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done so much of like for like me personally, I did so much of this work in the beginning of parenthood because I like realized, okay, like this how I could have this different piece of parenting in the way of like being emotionally regulated and like teaching kids how to like just like be aware of their emotions and all of these things. And it when as you're talking about this, it like makes me think of like the same way like a toddler just like is like sometimes so like, just over the top of, like, they can't handle anything, but all they really needed was a snack to, like, get to the next step to be able to, like, have those conversations or all those things, and I feel like sometimes and myself, but I feel like a lot of women and a lot of parents feel that way too of, like, we just need to remember to, like, take back that step and, like, focus on us first before we can help, others, and also just, like, before we can get into that other those other work of just doing life.
Yeah, and you know what? It's so interesting that you said that because in this masterclass, I was talking about that. Self-care, a lot of people have this connotation that self-care is like a luxury thing, when
Yeah,
actually it's a necessity. It's
right,
something that is just as you brush your teeth every morning, like self-care should be something that you do because when you find joy in life, when you are doing things that bring you joy, it raises your oxytocin. And when you raise your oxytocin, what happens is you reduce your cortisol. And we all know that when you have high cortisol, it jacks up our sex hormones.
right,
And then we start experiencing these symptoms. So,
yeah.
yeah, to piggyback on that, yeah, it's very true. We have to like pour into ourselves and
Mhm,
bring joy to our own lives.
right, absolutely. It's so important. So you had written in your notes some when you had shared with me, like, looking more at the feminine. So what does that, like, actually look like, and how can we learn more about that?
Yeah. So, well, what I think goes on in life is that we oftentimes give our power away to the system, right? The
Mm,
medical
yeah,
system, somebody else. We're looking outside of us for answers that we already innately have in us.
mm,
So the womb is, one of the biggest energetic centers, wisdom centers for us. And we all have it, right? Men, women, everything. But the womb is considered like divine feminine. And I believe that
Yeah.
when we tap into this divine feminine through our practices, through our connection to self, through action, and allowing, and not just action like very masculine action, but like even the act of rest, intentionally resting, intentionally being still, what it does is it unlocks different layers of our intuition where we're able to figure out on our own, like what it is that our body needs based on what
Mm,
it's trying to tell us.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a concept that for some might sound so weird, but I swear, like that's just how I live my
Yep.
life. And I see other women that live like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, right? Like we're not outsourcing our health or the health of our children to others out
Hmm.
there, but we're actually taking control. And a lot of time that looks like not doing what everyone else does.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and that's hard. It's hard to go against that sometimes when it's so out of the norm. But man, does there's a lot of freedom in that for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell me a little bit more. You mentioned that you have this background of being an RN. How does that intertwine to like how you approach all of this work? Let's take a quick moment for a little brain break and talk about something different. Have you ever wished someone could just sit down with you and magically tell you when you were going to get your period next? Or maybe tell you exactly which days you can and can't get pregnant? That's the beauty of charting. Once you understand your cycle, it stops feeling like this random guessing game and starts feeling like a pattern you can actually trust. I promise it's not as complicated as it might seem. Your body is already giving you all the clues. You just need someone to show you how to read them. That's exactly what I'm doing right now while finishing my Fertility Knowledge Collective certification. I'm still looking for a few clients to work with me for 3 months of online cycle coaching and charting support. We'll meet virtually, review your real life signs like cervical mucus and temperature, and help you build skills you can use for the rest of your life. And as part of my certification process, this round is pay what you can. So if you've ever thought, I just wish someone would guide me, this is your chance. To get in touch with me, either message me on Instagram at Cyclical Doula or text FKC just so I know that what we're talking about to 854-220-0218. I'll send you the details and we can figure out if this is a good fit for you. Okay, let's get back into the episode.
Yeah. So I have a bachelor's in nursing. I've been a nurse for like 15 plus years. And before I started my own coaching business, I was educating others on hormone health, basically, right? Diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, autoimmune, the list goes on. I learned so much in my work with how the body works and how hormones play a part in everything because they are the messengers that are playing the music. Think of it like
Yeah,
an orchestra. So
right.
the instruments are like all the hormones, and
Hmm.
the conductor up here is like our nervous system. So the nervous system is the one running, the hormones are the ones playing the tune. And I learned that very early on that, okay, there's something else, right? It's not just like, oh, you have this hormone and it does this, but like what causes this hormone to do that? And what can
Yeah,
this hormone not being good do to this hormone over there? Because it's all a symphony, right?
yeah.
So doing that work taught me a lot about the science of it all. I
Hmm.
am a very sciencey person. I like to understand what's
Yeah.
happening behind the scenes. That's how I'm able to embody it because then it's like then it makes sense to me, I'm like,
For
oh,
sure.
okay, that makes sense. So it has helped me to understand the back end of the things. But then I also bring in the energetics and the woo and the spirituality parts of
Yeah.
it because one can't coexist without the other.
Hmm.
So I blend the two, and with blending the two, I approach everything with a holistic lens.
Yeah,
So it becomes
absolutely.
mind, body, energy, frequency, spirit, and it makes for a better experience overall.
That's awesome. All right, I have a question. We can cut it out if you don't want to answer it, but I you kind of mentioned about hormonal birth control, like that wasn't something that you were interested in, and I'm wondering if you feel, I don't know if you've ever read the book This Is Your Brain on Birth Control.
Mm,
Um,
I
it's a
haven't,
good read.
but I could pretty much tell you what's in it. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. No,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
haven't, but
But my question for you is really like, do you feel like obviously, like, there's certain people who, like, need hormonal birth control for a variety of reasons, but for the general female population, how do you feel like we can really step into who we are as women better with being more in tune with our cycle versus using something like hormonal birth control that's gonna, like, shut down that system?
mm, yeah. So hormonal birth control is a class 1 carcinogen, right? It
Yeah.
increases your risk of cancer. Women aren't told that when they go on birth
Mm.
control at the doctor's office, okay?
No, they are
But
not.
birth control completely dysregulates your hormones and
Yeah.
makes you think that you are having now a regular period. I can't tell you how many times women have come to me and told me that their doctor put them on birth control because their periods were irregular and now they have a period. Little do they know that that's not really a period that they're getting and that
Yeah.
their body is just signaling to bleed with fake progesterone, and they weren't told
Yeah.
that, right? So they're
Right,
not
right, right.
being
Yeah.
educated.
Right,
So
exactly.
so there's no blood work that is done before. Very rarely have I ever heard a woman tell me, "Yeah, my doctor got blood work and decided that this was the birth control that I needed."
Yeah.
Never that. So I believe that if as women we became empowered, we understood our cycles. Here's another thing. I've had women that have told me, I didn't know I couldn't get pregnant all month long. I thought it was all month long, right?
Right.
If we were able to be educated on how our body actually works,
Yeah.
and then if something happened, we have to go on this medication or that, we were told, listen, this is what could happen, this are your side effects, this is what's going on, maybe people would make a better informed choice,
Yeah. Absolutely.
right? Because when I talk about okay, and here's another thing, when I talk about birth control, yes, I talk about stories that I've heard, things that I've seen, but I also talk from my own experience because I was on
Yeah.
3 different types of birth control in my life. And they all 3 caused major side effects where I felt like I wasn't myself. Like the
Mhm.
sadness and the depression and the disconnection from my body
Yeah.
was at the time, of course, I didn't notice it until like after the fact. I'm like, holy shit, what was that?
Right? Yeah.
Right? Like, so I talk from experience when I say that it completely changes who you are. It completely changes your chemical makeup, and it changes the way you view the world and everything, because that's what hormones do, right? They're
Right.
chemical messengers. They are
Right.
messengers of frequency. So they have very important jobs to do. And when we're out here messing around with them, it's going to impact our life.
Yeah. Absolutely. In all those different ways. Thanks for sharing that. I feel like that, like, I feel like it's something that once you get into this world of, like, understanding cycles in a more detailed level and understanding hormones in a more detailed level, that it's one of those things that a lot of people have the same opinion on. But it's refreshing to hear
Yeah.
people who are in the same boat.
Yeah. It's crazy to me how
Yeah.
um it's just the but you know what? Also, everything in society right now is meant to separate us from our
Mm,
wisdom, from source, from ourselves. So it's not surprising that something that completely disconnects you from yourself is just being handed out like, oh, you have a problem? Here it is. It's going to fix all of
yeah.
this. And then you
Right.
believe it so deeply, the cognitive dissonance, right? That's what it's called, where you
Yeah.
believe it so deeply when another woman who understands or has seen the different side shares this with you, you get defensive because Lord, no, my doctor would never steer me wrong.
Right.
Um, no, there's no reason I chose this partner who now years later I'm like, what was I doing? Because you were
Right.
on birth control during
Yep.
that time.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
ugh, yeah,
That's such an interesting study. If people haven't heard that one before, that's a good one to
yeah.
look into of how people choose partners differently on birth control than they would otherwise. Just
Mhm.
fascinating. All right, we're getting a little bit off the topic of your specific work, but I feel like it's all kind of intertwined. I think as I'm thinking more about this, I if somebody's listening to this and they're feeling in that state of that like early on or like they're listening to this and they're like, "Ah, this is me currently," if feeling like super disconnected, like having that luteal rage, all of those things, how do they start? How do they like make that first step? Because sometimes that's I feel like sometimes that's the hardest part.
Yeah, so I want to say that it begins with awareness, like,
Yeah.
this is what it is. But also, I want to say that if you are someone that has been struggling or have found it challenging because there's a lot of overwhelming information out there, find
Mhm.
yourself someone who you resonate with, whose story resonates with you, who you feel is appropriate for you, and work with them, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't try to do it alone, especially us women. Like, we want to do everything alone because we got it, we got it. But honestly, we were never meant to be doing anything alone. From
Mhm.
the beginning of time, women have always depended on each other for information, through wisdom from the elders to the younger, from friends. Like, that's why friendships are so important, and sisterhood
Yeah.
and all of that. So, like, yes, starting to track your cycle, read a book, listen to a podcast, etc. But honestly, just find your person and allow them the opportunity to be your accountability, to guide you, to help you, because we need other people to lean on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So good. Um what's like the a biggest truth that you want most women to hear, like, and understand about their bodies?
Mm. I would say that we have been taught from a very early age that our periods, that our mood swings, that our dip in energy is something bad or something that we have to fix, or
Mm,
what's wrong with you, right? From the beginning of time,
yeah.
hysterical, that word comes from wandering room, right?
Right.
Wandering, like, you're hysterical. It means you've gone rogue. Your uterus has gone rogue. This is something that even if our parents didn't talk about it, because we live in that generation, right? Our parents, like, they didn't talk about this stuff. Like,
No,
our
not at
moms,
all.
like,
Yeah.
started talking about that, like, very quiet, but it still lives in the layers of ourselves, in our DNA, in our psyche, in our womb space, in our hips, like, all of this, all these stories live there.
Mhm.
And I just want someone to know, whoever needs to know, that your body is literally already telling you exactly what it needs, and there's nothing broken about it, and there's nothing that needs to be fixed. It's just a relationship that needs to be, like, reciprocated, listened.
Mm,
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, tell me what else when you came into this conversation, what else were you hoping to share or bring to this conversation?
Yeah, so I was just really excited to chat
Yeah.
with you and just have these conversations, because we live in a world now where we could have these conversations, women, we could learn about our bodies, we could learn something new about it, and we could do it without repercussion, without being hung at the stake because now we're like witches, like, it's
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
beautiful time to be alive right now where we have access to all of these information. So to be quite honest, I genuinely was just happy to have this conversation with
Yeah.
someone else that gets it, that understands it. And if one woman can hear this and it prompts more research, or it prompts more, oh, what are they talking about? Poor
Mhm.
faces. I can't get pregnant all the time. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
that is like that's impact right there, and I think that's
For sure.
wonderful.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, I'm so glad that we had all these conversations. And I'm sure that we could keep going in a bunch of different directions. What is the thing, like, how can somebody work with you?
So, I have a vibrant community inside of Facebook. It's called The Bloody Truth. You could Google it, like search it.
Yeah.
And it is a safe space. It's called The Bloody Truth Embodied Cycle Alignment. It is a safe space for us to just talk about these conversations, have these
Yeah.
conversations, learn about our bodies. Right now, I have a masterclass that is going on. By the time this recording comes out, you will probably come and catch the replay. It's a free masterclass and it's called Luteal Liberation, where I teach you all the nitty gritty of your luteal phase and not just the science part, but like the energetics and the frequency part and meeting your luteal self and how to support her and how to work with her instead of against her, right? I have my one-to-one program, which is called the Bloom Method, where I go through the Bloom framework. I go through the Three to Thrive formula, which is all simple ways. Because here's the thing, okay, I'm a mom of
Yeah.
two and I homeschool. I need things to be practical.
Yep, for sure.
Like, we're not living in fairyland world, right? We want things to be practical and
Yeah.
implementable and easy because our like we don't want to become overwhelmed with now, oh, now I gotta listen to my body like it's a work,
Yeah.
you know? So I make all of this process easy. I make it doable and I make it, like I said, practical, integrated for your own life. So those are the different ways. I also post really good content on Instagram if you want to follow me at glowflow dot with Gigi. And yeah,
Well, is there anything else you want to leave people with before we close out our recording today?
yeah. So I just want to say that thank you so much for
Yeah.
having this space that we could have these conversations. I really just want women to feel safe in their own bodies, right?
Yeah.
I want this for all of us. I want us to reclaim our energy. I want us to reclaim our confidence and our power. And I want us as a generation to be the one that holds our cycle as the superpowers that they are with reverence, not a
Mhm.
curse, not something that happened to you.
Yeah.
And I want to see the ripple of that. I want my daughter to feel like safe in this world and
Mm.
knowing that there's nothing wrong with her body and her daughters and hopefully like generations and generations, like the more we talk about this and the more we become confident in our own bodies and our cycles and our superpowers and our power as women, I feel like it literally has the power to change the whole fabric, the weaving of the world.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
it starts with one person. Just starts with one of us.
Absolutely. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for being here today, Gigi. I really appreciate it. And I feel like I've learned a lot, but also just I feel like listeners are going to feel just so supported and feel like they have a great next step of things that they can look into.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Cyclical Doula podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much if you shared it with a friend or posted it on Instagram and tagged me at Cyclical Doula. If you've got a question you'd love to hear answered on the show, head over to emma.com/podcast to submit it. And don't forget, leaving a quick review really helps this podcast reach more people. Plus, if you upload a screenshot of your review on my website, I'll send you a special surprise as a thank you. You'll find all the details in the show notes about this show today, and I really appreciate you being here and listening in. I'll see you next time.
Welcome to the space where cycles breathe, where the real raw life of a mama leads. From motherhood's highs to charting the low, your body's story is the star of the show. Matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical doula sound, where body wisdom is always found. Matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every This is the cyclical doula sound, where body wisdom is always found.
Just a disclaimer and a reminder that any guests on the show are views of their own and not necessarily views of Emma LLC or Emma Goff herself. Thanks so much.